Welcome to the Confidence Through Health podcast. My name is Jerry Snyder. As a health, wellness, and sports performance coach, my goal each week is to bring you experts to help you take control of your health and build your self-confidence. Thanks for including me today on your journey to better health. I want to say thank you to Social Media Cowboys for sponsoring this week's episode of the Confidence Through Health podcast. If you need help with a website, if you need social media needs for your business, if you need help with AdWords, SEO, all those things that you know you should be doing, but you are too busy to do or you're too confused about, they are the experts that you need in your corner. If you're interested in launching a podcast, such as mine, they help me edit my podcast and do a fantastic job making sure that all of the technical side of it is handled and we launch a nice, neat, edited podcast episode each week. So I want to thank Social Media Cowboys for their continued sponsorship of the Confidence Through Health podcast. You can find them at socialmediacowboys.com, or you can find them as well with other sponsors at confidencethroughhealth.com. So Maddison, I want to thank you for being a guest on the Confidence Through Health podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Jerry.
So when I was looking at who you are, what your story is, like I was telling you before we started recording, I was in the corporate world for a while. And found out that that's not where I was called to be and not what I'm supposed to be doing. You had a similar experience, and then getting into the passion and the drive to help people. Was that always a part of who you were? Just you were in a different area of life, or did that really come alive when you started helping people with their health?
Yeah, I think it probably has been a part of who I am for a really long time, but probably my whole life.
Mhm.
I don't think I knew that until I got into the health coaching space and just starting my own health coaching practice. That has been a very reflective experience. And I have had to learn a lot about myself and
Yeah.
really what got me here. And so I do think I have always wanted to help and probably fix, maybe in a somewhat unhealthy fashion, just like going all the way back to childhood.
Yeah.
But it really became important for me. And kind of, I would feel like I was very, very pulled to do this for a long time, just after seeing family struggles, my father battling cancer. That was sort of the last straw for me. I just knew this is not how this is supposed to look. Like, this is not how life should look. This is not how health should look. This is not how sickness should look. And I feel that I have the passion and the knowledge to help people. And that's what I want to do.
Right. So interesting because I haven't had anybody say this before, but this is not how sickness should look. Like that's an interesting way of saying it. Because I think a lot of people in our space that understand the benefits of holistic healing and the benefits of things that are unfortunately called alternative to traditional medicine. But we understand that the health system is not helping us overall. Acute issue, sure, but when it comes to chronic disease and finding true health, it's not really that. But it's interesting you say it's not how sickness is supposed to look.
Yeah. And, I guess I think for me, I think the whole picture is is incorrect. I think
Hmm.
every part of it is just wrong. I mean, if you've
Yeah.
ever had to deal with anybody that's had to deal with chronic health conditions, it just doesn't seem right. And, our bodies are going to encounter challenges as
Mhm.
we age. We're going to come into contact. I mean, I think about my nephews. Every time I go over to my sister's house, I'm like, all right, I want to make sure that I really focused on my immune system before I go
Mhm.
spend time with my nephews because, they get sick.
Yeah.
And so you're going to come in contact with these things, but our bodies should be more resilient and we should be able to pick up on those cues that our body is getting sick or going
Mhm.
in a bad direction before it gets to the point that it does.
Mhm. That's so true. And I fully believe this in that so many people that follow the SAD diet right? The standard American and are eating fast food multiple times a week and don't really understand what a good body feels like anymore. They can't trigger or say, "Oh, I'm getting sick," because they're constantly really sick.
Yeah.
It just may not be manifesting in like, "Oh, I've got a runny nose, so obviously I'm right." But it's manifesting in other things that they're not picking up is this is sick.
Yeah. I know. And I think something I'm just so passionate about is let's get in front of this. I mean, from a young age, I
Mhm.
really think that we should be thinking about health and wellness like we are our investments. Like nobody would start investing in retirement at 65 when they have no more income.
Right.
After they retire, don't start investing in your body and your health and your future well-being after it's too late. And I think we have been really, really hurt by this like genetics storyline that these things are out of your control. And I really do feel like it's just such a stark difference between people that are aware that you have control over those things and people that really just don't understand. They just don't get it. I mean, I have so many friends that are struggling with health issues or they've been on prescription medications for a long time and they're like, oh, well, yeah, I have to take this medicine because I have this thing. And I'm like,
Mhm.
maybe you don't have to have that thing.
Right.
Like
Right.
maybe you don't have to have that thing. Has that even occurred to you?
Yeah. Well, and that's something that I think that traditional medicine like doesn't allow you to think, right? They don't want you to think that. And I had this thought the other day because it interestingly enough, I got a client a couple years ago who is a family practice doctor, who was recommended to come to me by we both see the same doctor. And they were like, you got to go see if you want to keep working, you got to go see Jerry. You got to work with him. And like being able to like infiltrate basically his mind and say like like slowly start chipping away at and like that doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way because he's obviously been prescribing things that way. Um, but he when I see him, oh, I saw this pharmaceutical rep or that pharmaceutical rep or this pharmaceutical rep. And the thing it made me think the other day was like, yes, they go to med school and they get all this education on medicine in the body and all of this. But of course, he's 30 years out of medical school. And so outside of his maybe a training here or there, most of his education especially about drugs comes from pharmaceutical reps who want to make money because they're a salesperson,
Yeah.
right? They're not an educator. They're a salesperson trying to say they're only going to tell you the good things, and so how many doctors are in that position when you go their traditional route versus all the people that I know that are in the functional space or in the holistic space are doing education on their own and in finding things and finding the researchers and I'm not saying all doctors don't do that. Some doctors are looking at research too, but most of them are overworked to where they don't have time for it. I mean, it's scary.
When I was in the tech space, I supported healthcare and life sciences and pharmaceutical companies. So specifically on the sales side.
Mhm.
So I know exactly how that works. I
Right.
know exactly how that works. And
Yeah.
they invest a lot of money into sales.
Yeah.
And it's really infuriating. And when my dad was sick with cancer and I was in the hospital, I remember being on the phone with an account and we were talking about basically, sales into
Yeah.
this account. And I was just like, this is wow, like, how is this happening? And I think that was kind of one of the really big moments where I was like, I'm not going to continue doing this. Like, I just
Right.
morally can't do it. And just, when you're personally in that, like, my dad ended up passing from mesothelioma. And that it was really interesting because the doctor that he worked with was not a bad doctor. I mean, he was a
Right.
great guy. My dad really
Right.
liked him. And He seemed to be very knowledgeable, but he was super busy,
Mhm.
super, super busy, had so many patients that he was caring for. And, we didn't end up going to like a specialist hospital because the response we always would get, like we would ask, is this the right treatment plan? Are you sure about
Right.
this? Should we go to a hospital that specializes in this? And they're like, well, this is the standard protocol. Like, it doesn't matter which hospital you go to, this is going to be the standard
Uh,
protocol.
right.
So just completely not personalized. And yeah, I could go on for a long time about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, they do not have the time to or capacity to educate themselves on these things.
Right.
And I think a common thing we hear in the holistic health space is, everybody's body is different. So it's hard to sometimes prove
Mhm.
that, like this diet will work for this thing, which is another thing that, doctors run up against.
Right. Well, and that's something that is and like the fad diet companies know this too, right? Like they know that not everybody's going to be successful, that some people will be. And so they highlight those people that are, of course, and we've all seen the commercials that say, this is not the average and this is not expected and the results are not typical and but that fine print is so small and they go through it so fast and but they're churning out all their stuff and just feeding this realm of misinformation in the nutrition space. And it's very much an individualistic thing. And it's very much a what works for you. Don't worry about what works for your neighbor.
Yes. And I feel like that's kind of what drew me to talking to you today is
Mhm.
kind of that topic. And that's why I really am trying to encourage the women that I work with to get healthy young,
Mhm.
but it's not necessarily just about developing health and keeping that health as you age. It's also about starting to listen to and understand your body
Mhm.
as early as possible. Because for a lot of people, I mean, we are not raised to necessarily be in tune with our bodies.
Right.
So for many of us, that is a muscle that we have to rebuild.
Mhm.
And it takes some time. It takes a lot of experimenting and listening to what you really need.
Mhm.
I was talking to somebody the other day, and they're somebody that really heavily pushes the keto diet.
Mhm.
And something I do with my clients is metabolic typing,
Mhm.
trying to understand which diet is best for you.
Right.
And I remember when like keto and I kind of do like a semi paleo diet
Mhm.
myself, like, not super strict, but that's where I lean.
Right.
And I remember when keto came out, I did, some genetic like testing to see which diet was right for me. And it said, well, you actually need more carbs. Like you need
Mhm.
more veggies and fibers and fruits. And
Right.
I didn't want to believe that because keto was such a big thing.
Right.
And, I was somebody that was very knowledgeable.
Mhm.
I was very knowledgeable and pretty confident in my understanding of health. But because there's so much noise out there, I
Mhm.
think it really does take a pretty strong, like, confidence muscle and really somebody that actually knows what's best for them to not get sort of bogged down
Right.
in all of the fad trendy things.
Yeah. Well, and it is. It's because, I found what works for me. And whenever I tell people that I'm vegan and I've done raw vegan for a while and like I lean back and forth, um, but I've been vegan for 8 or 9 years. And of course, as an athlete, the number one question I always get, where do you get your protein? And I'm like, oh my gosh, seriously. Like, like there's so many other pieces to the puzzle than just, protein. And then of course there's other people that are like, oh my gosh, you eat so many carbs. How do you? And I'm like, it's not about that. It's about the micronutrients that your body needs. And everybody's body's a little different as to what they need,
Yeah.
and because some people are lean to be more deficient in other areas, or, in it just based on experiences, what they've put their body through. There's so many different factors in there. And so just to say, like, if you get this many grams of whatever, you're going to be fine, is so misleading.
It's so misleading. And because so many people, because we are dealing with so many sick
Mhm.
individuals and so many people, I mean, like my generation grew up with the TV dinners. I remember going to
Mhm.
McDonald's all the time,
Yep.
eating the processed food because our parents didn't really know better. And so my generation, it did not start off on the right foot, most
Right.
of us.
Right.
So we are seeing the consequences of that very early.
Mhm.
And so more and more people are looking for health advice, and they get so discouraged when eating 30 grams of protein for every meal doesn't result in the outcome that they want. And
Right.
that's when they get scared. And that's when they turn to pharmaceuticals
Mhm.
or just completely lose faith in their body and
Yeah.
truly feel very disconnected from their body because they're not, one, they don't know how to listen to their body,
Mhm.
but they're really putting all their eggs and faith into
Yeah.
somebody else. And you know what? That person probably has helped a good number of people, but what that person is selling or pushing or the diet that they're suggesting won't work for everybody.
Right. Right. And that's why one of the things that I recommend for people is like, try this for a couple of weeks, see how your body reacts. If you get negative reactions to it, and I'm not talking about illness or rashes or any of that kind of stuff, but if you're listening to your body, you're going to know, like, I'm not optimal right now. Like, something feels off. Then tweak it, and either take something away or add something back, or, and then, like you said, you find your own little version of paleo or Whole30 or whatever it is. It's not as strict as what's lined out, but it's what works for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I really don't like the term diet.
Yeah.
And every time I start working with somebody, so many women come to me, and of course, I want them to focus on health rebuilding, but their initial goal is always like weight loss.
Yep.
That's that they say that a lot. And one of my last clients, and this is so common, I think I probably hear this every time. It's like, well, what if I do a diet with you? And then when I stop, and then I gain the weight back, and I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
like we're not doing diets, we're not
Right.
doing diets. We're going to find what really works for you and makes you feel good long term. And
Right.
guess what? That's also going to give you the results you want, but you're also going to feel good.
Yeah.
So I know it's tempting to go back to the other direction, but if this is making you actually feel good,
Right.
like this is where we need to stay.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the things that people look at what I do, and because I've done it for so long, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, you're so disciplined how can you go to a restaurant and not just order this or that?" Or and they're like, "Oh, or the other piece is, oh, you're depriving yourself of all these things." And I'm like, "No, I still find the joy in eating. It's just I find it from different things that are still healthy because they're out there. And if you get your body away from the processed foods, it'll start to, like, almost like revolt against them if you introduce them again, because I've experienced that, and it's not pleasant. And it's like, oh my gosh, like, why are you doing this to me? But when we're raised from it from the very beginning, it's quickly just a part of who we are. Our body gets accustomed to it, but it's not the natural way that we should be introducing foods and introducing things to our body.
Yeah. Yeah. And something that I really love and get super excited about is creating like new recipes or
Mhm.
finding, a healthy dessert that is really yummy and but also at the same time good for my body and isn't going to
Right.
disrupt my sleep because for me that's like the number one thing that I focus on for me personally is
Mhm.
like sleep. So there's so much joy in that and it's
Yeah.
fun. Like it's
Mhm.
actually really fun. And there is a lot of beauty in one, the creative aspect of like blending together different foods and trying different
Right.
healthy recipes. And it just makes you feel good. And like on an intentional side of things, you are intentionally taking care of yourself and
Right.
doing the things that are going to make you feel better. And it's really hard for some people, especially some of my older clients. Like, I have so many women that I work with, maybe they weren't born with a gluten or dairy issue, but they have developed one over time because, their gut is just no longer healthy. And I'm like, all right, well, we need to remove this for a little while because it's really causing a lot of issues. And there's almost like a fear. There's definitely a heavy emotional response attached to that because they're like, but I love yogurt and I love
Mhm.
cheese. And it's like I'm taking all of their joy away.
Right.
So it's an effort and really a relearning of, look, there are so many other beautiful alternatives that you're actually going to really, really like, and you may even like better
Right.
than the thing that you're consuming right now that does not love you back.
Right. Well, and that's a key piece is it doesn't love you back, right? And so like right now you think maybe because it's taste bud driven or emotionally connection to, a historical piece of your life that brings back. But the love you back piece is like once you change what that is and find a substitute for it that does love you back, then you really feel that. Like,
Yeah.
and that's when I think when people can commit to doing that, that's when they can see the change happen. And yeah, like you said, like well, the biggest one for the most common thing, I shouldn't say the biggest, but the most common one for me is cheese. People don't want to give up cheese, and I'm just like, wow, it has such a big hold on people. Um, and and that by itself should tell you something about it, right? Like if you can't give it up, like why? What
Yeah.
is it about it that is causing that reaction?
Yeah. I think I agree. Cheese is the biggest one that I see too.
Mhm.
And I'll say that I get it kind of because
Yeah.
I felt that way too. Um, I felt that way because dairy for me, I've tested myself and everything, and I don't
Mhm.
technically have any sort of issue with dairy on paper, but I know that I feel better when I don't eat it.
Yeah.
And that was the one where I was, when I really fully made the decision to remove that, cheese was my thing too.
Mhm.
And I'll tell you, I don't miss it,
Yeah.
but it's because I love feeling good.
Right.
I love feeling good. And I think there are, food has definitely been leaned on as an emotional crutch
Mhm.
for a lot of people. And I think that actually dips into the mental and emotional side
Mhm.
of health because, as we know, it's all connected.
Right. Well, and so one of the things that you put that on your website that I love that I was like, I want to ask you about this because it's it's such a true statement. And it's something that I think so many people don't. I think they understand it if they read it, but they don't understand it from a live it standpoint. And that is your health should work for you, right? Like I think everybody would be like, okay, yeah, I get that, yeah. But like to live that, like there's discipline and there's commitment and there's those things, but there's like it's such a basic concept.
Yes. And I see this the most with the women that I work with that are moms and
Mhm.
that are in the corporate space and they are trying to do everything.
Yeah.
So, something I have been doing for the past 6 months now is I've been interviewing women, just hearing their stories and listening to them. And they're all women that are in the corporate space. Most of them have children, younger children. And I'll ask them, like, what are your health goals? What are your health challenges? And there's almost this just instinctive guilty answer that they all give me.
Mhm.
And it's, oh, well, I try to go to the gym.
Mhm.
That's like the first thing they say. I try to go to the gym. I'm trying to go to the gym. I'm trying to move more. I know I need to move more. I know I need to
Mhm.
move. And there's just this guilt that's
Yeah.
associated with it. Like they're failing, like they aren't doing something right. And I'm on the other side thinking, you're doing everything.
Mhm.
You are running at 100 miles an hour. You either don't have the partner support that you need, or you haven't been able to ask for it,
Right.
or you're not okay with asking for it. And that's a big thing that I see.
Yeah.
I think men get, a lot of slack for not stepping in and not being partners. And I'd say at least 50% of the time, women just don't know how to ask. And it's
Right.
because we feel like we need to do everything.
Yeah.
And we feel like if we're not doing everything, we're doing something wrong and we failed. So, in that example, I see how trying to go to the gym 5 times a week is not working for them. That's not the answer. That is
Right.
an added stressor. And I can pretty much guarantee that that time in the gym probably is not actually helpful. They
Right.
probably don't enjoy it. They're thinking about the other things they have to
Mhm.
do. They're already stressed. So maybe even the type of exercise they're doing is not beneficial,
Yeah.
but it's what we know,
Yeah.
it's what we know. And that to me is a really big example of your health is not working for you right now.
Yeah. Well, and it's so true about sometimes we think that exercise may be the thing we need when the thing we need may be better suited for us is 20 minutes of quiet time where we actually turn everything off and we actually don't think about the stressors of our life or anything. We just get that, and I would bet because my wife, we've got 2 kids, she works, like I know the struggles that you're talking about, right? And I would bet if you told her, okay, I'm going to give you 20 minutes to go to the gym or 30 minutes to go to the gym or 20 minutes a day to sit and do nothing and have peace and quiet and like find a room somewhere that's just quiet and just she would take the quiet time every time, and like you said, your priority for you is sleep. We don't realize sometimes that not doing something may be better for our health than doing everything,
Yeah,
trying to avoid adding one more thing. Like you said, it's just like one more thing to your already busy schedule.
yeah, yeah. I used to go to this HIIT class that I absolutely loved. And when my dad was diagnosed with cancer, all of a sudden I started not enjoying that class.
Mhm.
And I actually did not leave feeling well. And so I ended up canceling, and I talked to the owner because I had been going for so long. They're like, "Why?" And I'm like, I have this feeling that I need something softer right now."
Mhm.
And I really leaned into yoga and going on walks. And a few months later, I ended up having a little bit of like a physical breakdown, as my dad got closer and closer to passing.
Mhm.
And now in hindsight, I know that was my body just dealing with the stress of that
Yeah.
situation. And thankfully, I was able to start sort of listening to the cues. But when you're moving so fast, like most people are today, they don't have the time. And again, this is why it's so important to start really trying to prioritize and listen to your body at a young age, because you'll keep that with you. Like once you learn that and
Mhm.
once you really understand what makes you feel good, it's hard to unhear and unknow
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, I think, in today's society, we're all very busy.
Mhm.
We're traveling a lot. We have a lot of environmental toxins and just other stressors on our body that we're not even aware of. So I think it is more important than ever to find a health and wellness routine that makes you feel more alive
Yeah.
and more joyful and really fills your cup, because there is a lot right now that is working against us, I think.
Right. And telling yourself that it's okay to have myself like in front of everything else that's going on, right? And I know that that's a big thing for moms, like whether you're a working mom or not a working mom, it's a big thing for moms to be able to say, no, I'm going to put myself first over my kids, over my spouse, over, the clean house or whatever it is that that is driving that stressor of there's so many things to do, you know. And I don't know how many times I'd say this weekly. It, like is, my wife will say, "Hey, oh, the house is a mess." I don't care. Like, it's it's not in a horrible, unlivable situation. Okay, we haven't cleaned in a couple days. No big deal, right? Like we'll get to it, but don't let that become one more thing that's just not allowing you to relax and not allowing you to calm down and find peace, because you can do all the other things, but if you can't drop that stress level, that it's almost like they're just not working.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's also starting to understand like what the world will not end if you
Right,
don't clean the house.
right,
Like,
right.
what is the priority list? Like, what actually really needs to happen? And I think from a society perspective, like, I mean, if somebody comes over to my house, I'm like, oh, I need to clean. It needs to be
Mhm.
perfect. But honestly, does it?
Right.
That's sort of like an external thing, and that's like how I want to be viewed. And I'm also just not a neat freak, so that one's a little
Mhm.
bit easier for me than it is others. But on the list of things that you have to do and you have to take care of, or something bad is going to happen, that's just not high.
Right, right. But it's when we don't allow that stress to go away, right? And I've talked to so many different people about the living in that high stress level all the time when we're only supposed to be there a couple of times a day, maybe, right? Most of our time should be nice and calm and relaxed and moving at we're still getting things done, not lazy. We're still getting things done, but they're just not, like you said, we're not dealing with those things that are life or death every moment of every day. It just shouldn't, we're not built that way.
Yeah, we're not meant to go consistently. And again, the world is just not designed like that. So you have to design your
Hmm.
life like that.
Hmm.
You have to be the one that says, I'm going to work for 90 minutes and then I'm going to take a 20-minute break. You have to do that. You have to be the one that puts yourself first, and you have to love yourself enough to do that. And for those people that are busy, for the busy moms, if you won't do it for yourself, because I do think it's hard for moms to feel like they're being selfish when there's so many, when their children or their spouse needs to be taken care of. Know that your spouse and your children will feel it if you don't take care of yourself. They will see that stress. Like you won't be able to be with your partner in the way that you want to. So if you can't initially do it for you, think about all of the other positive things and how positively it will impact you and your family just to take a little bit more time in your day for you.
And you can mix that with movement or other healthy things, right? Like, because that 20 minutes could be, okay, I'm going to take a walk in the neighborhood. Or it could be, I'm going to go garden or, you know, trim my flowers or, you're still doing, you can mix the two, um, and still get the same benefit out of it. Um, Without having to think, oh, now don't make it a stressor to do your quiet time, right? Like we don't need that piece of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Something I love to encourage is just why don't you go sit outside and eat?
Mhm.
Just sit outside and eat and leave your phone inside. Like
Right.
leave it in the office, leave it in your house, sit outside for 20 minutes. and I mean, it's summer right now, so it's kind of hot where
Hmm.
I am. I actually really like the heat, so it doesn't bother me. But can you go outside or can you go on a quick walk,
Right.
just around the building or around the cul-de-sac, whatever it might be, just to get a change of scenery and sort of think of it, if it's hard for you to think about it as time to you, maybe think about it as like a way to re-energize yourself or,
Mhm.
kind of give you that second win for the next half of the day.
Right.
But I'm a big believer in if you feel like you have a super busy day, maybe you can't take an hour or an hour and a half or whatever to go to the gym or do something like that.
Mhm.
So build in maybe a 10, 15, 20 minutes, 2 times a day.
Right. Right. Well, and there's a lot more time in our day than we realize when we take out some of the stuff that doesn't really matter. Scrolling your phone, watching television. There's different things that it's like, okay, those things don't, but we lose so much time in those moments. Um, but I want to go back to something else you said that I think is um it's important and it to me it ties in the mind body connection as well. In that, you talked about somebody who said, okay, well, if I do your quote diet plan, and then when I stop doing it, I'm going to gain all the weight back. Like the mindset piece of, because I've had people tell me like, oh, I'm never going to be this again. And while that can be true for some statements, there's a lot with our health that it's not really true. Like we can reverse a lot of things. I've had diabetics that say, I'm never going to be able to get off insulin. And I'm like, well, if you're type one, okay, but if you're type two, like there's proof it's been done before. So why are you saying that? Like, why are you limiting yourself? And from my experience, I do think women do this more than men. Um, but you know, I know that you've probably had people and deal with that. And to me, that's almost a bigger issue than dealing with a weight problem or a chronic disease it's like we got to understand ourselves first, right?
Yes, I actually had somebody yesterday. She's 30 years old. And she said, well, I've had all my friends tell me as soon as you turn 30, kind of
Mhm.
just your hormones start changing again. She's like, I think I'll just have to be kind of happy with the fact that I've gained weight and, my body's just not going to be the same way ever again. And I'm like, you're 30. You are a baby, honestly. Like in
Right.
terms of health,
Yeah.
like yes, certain things start declining, like collagen production or whatever. But no, you can be in the absolute best shape of your life right now.
Yeah.
You have not peaked.
Right.
So, yes, I hear it all the time. And I feel like for a lot of women, it is in that weight and sort of hormone. Like if you
Mhm.
think about it, I mean, everything with women is so hormonally driven. I mean,
Yeah.
when we're young, we get our periods, and like that's a whole more hormonal thing that starts when
Right.
we are young. And then it's trying to get pregnant and like the
Mhm.
fertility conversation. Then you're pregnant, then you go through postpartum, and then it's perimenopause and menopause. I mean, there are so many different cycles
Yeah.
that are hormonal. And I think a woman thinks like once they go through this one phase, then that like past them is dead in a
Right.
way. Like
Right.
I will never get my pre-baby body back. I will
Mhm.
never feel like I did before perimenopause. And I'll say it for probably the fifth time. This is why it's so important to really start taking care of yourself at such an early age.
Mhm.
My stepmom, she's going through perimenopause or she's going through menopause right now, probably past it. And she's like, "Well, what can I do to help?" And obviously I'm helping her through it,
Sure.
but I also said, I wish we would have started preparing for this a long time
Hmm.
ago.
Hmm.
And I'm with you. I don't think anything, or really, I don't think 95% 5% of things are irreversible. I
Right.
really don't.
Right.
And that mindset is hard. And I think, it's that's what I spend a lot of time trying to figure out,
Mhm.
how to support a client who just mentally doesn't believe that they can improve.
Right.
And there are subconscious blocks there.
Mhm.
It's getting to the root of, why do you think you'll never lose weight?
Right.
Why do you think that you'll always be sick? Or I oftentimes see clients that are seeing so many doctors and they're
Mhm.
like, oh, well, this next doctor will tell me what's wrong. Like if I get these labs done, it'll tell me what's wrong. And I'm like, maybe we got to stop looking for what's wrong.
Yeah.
Maybe not to say that you are not having physical manifestations or symptoms of illness, because
Sure.
you are, but like, where does this really start? Like,
Yeah.
what is the true root cause? And I know in functional medicine, like root cause is sort of it's said all the time. And the longer I'm in this industry, the more I believe the root cause is trauma
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
mental and emotional and spiritual well-being that has been ignored.
Yeah.
And that's really, and yes, there are physical things, but I think that those things are almost more important.
Yeah. No, I've talked to several people about trauma and how it's stored in the body and how we react to it. And I've got another client who has told me about some of the trauma that he's lived through. And he with me, he's had some weight loss, he's had a little bit of incline back up, and but he's still net way below. And he's like, I just want to get, and I was like, I know, but I said, you know what I've told you. He said, I know, I've got to forgive myself. I said, yeah. And I said, and he goes, I can't do it. I said, okay, well, you're holding on to more than just the emotional trauma. You're holding on, your body's not really ready to let go of all this because you still believe you deserve the outcome that you've gotten because you haven't forgiven yourself. And I'm like, we're going to keep going at it. We're going to keep hammering. We're going to keep your body as healthy as we can get it. But once you do that, I've told him this the other day. I said, once you do that, you're going to be shocked at how quickly things just start falling off.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, all of us, I think, have some sort of limiting beliefs
Mhm.
in some way. It's part of being human. But and that is a place that people really don't want to go
Oh,
on their
sure.
healing journey.
Hmm.
That is really scary, but I think it is a critical step.
Hmm.
Just, and that I'm such a big believer in like journaling and meditating
Hmm.
and really sitting with yourself and being honest with yourself. Like
Right.
what is really just being honest with yourself and doing that over time. I'm not saying you're going to have an overnight
Hmm.
revelation, but when you start really making an effort to make that space for yourself and be honest with yourself, a lot comes up that you may would have never expected.
Right. Right. Well, and things that like I've thought this to myself sometimes when I've written stuff, and I'm like, wow, would I say that to somebody else? I just said it to myself. Like I wouldn't say that to somebody else. Like even in a heated argument, like I wouldn't say that, but I'm saying it to myself that, and the mind body connection of being able to think something or say it to yourself and your body manifesting it is far stronger than I think anybody believes. Just that, the people that have researched it and get it, they get it. But like if you just asked a random person on the street, they'd be like, oh yeah, I mean, and they don't, it's far stronger than anybody believes. Um, and and so what we think and tell ourselves, and if we don't have that honest moment, on a regular basis too, it needs to be regular to be able to say, you know, um, and it's another thing I ask people, you know, when was the last time you looked in the mirror and actually looked in the mirror? Right? Like we look in a mirror, we brush our teeth, or I don't, but doing her hair, or something where it's like, okay, well, but am I really looking at the person in the mirror and saying, I like you, I like the things I see, I like, because we don't do that, then yeah, we can easily be 5 or 10 years down the road and catch a glimpse and go, how did I become this?
Yeah. Yeah, I think there is it's avoidance,
Mhm.
like that is coming from a place of fear and avoidance, not being able to physically look in the mirror, not being able to be honest with yourself. Like I think it is, you know, I have like kind of a theory about people again in my generation. Like so many of us have chosen lives and paths that don't really align with what we truly want. We were all told, go to college, go to business school,
Right.
do this thing, get married at this age, have kids, get a dog, whatever it might be.
Yep.
Um, so many people's lives look so similar and they seem to be struggling with a lot of the same things. And it's really hard to be that deep into a situation and be like, well, this is not what I want to do. I'm not happy with this.
Right.
And I think maybe that's where a lot of that comes from is knowing you chose a path that maybe you weren't super happy with and feeling like it's too late.
Yeah.
Kind of the same thing with the physical healing, thinking you can never go back to that place of like physical health that you want to be in. People also feel that way about the paths that they have chosen. Oh,
Mhm.
well, it's too late. I'm already too far down this, you know, route. So it's kind of that same thing. It's being scared to admit that maybe your choices have not aligned and it's time to maybe make some changes, even if they're tough.
Right. Well, and that follows in line with, I was in that career mode, and my wife always laughed because she's like, you'll go work somewhere for 4 or 5 years and then you get tired and you move somewhere else. And it was like because it wasn't the right place, it wasn't the right thing. But the initial like, oh, let me learn everything, let me, maybe fix the things that are wrong in this place or whatever, like got me going. But then it was like, okay, well, now what? And then so I started my own thing, you know, um, gosh, 9 years ago. And, I'm over 40, starting my own thing from scratch. And, it takes years to make money when you start from scratch in your own thing and you don't have, a big budget to advertise and all that kind of stuff. And so people ask me now, they're like, okay, you're over 50. How long are you going to work? And I'm like, as long as I can. They're like, oh, don't you want to retire? Oh, you don't have the money because you started over. And it's like, it's not money. It's like, this is what I love. Like, why would I not do this until I decide I don't want to anymore? And so I don't know when that's going to be. Now, it might be next month, but it also might be when I'm 90. Like, I'm not going to put an artificial number on it because that's the state mandated or, retirement age. It's going to be, I'm going to do it till I can't anymore, till I don't want to anymore, till it's not fun anymore. And right now, I don't see that ever happening, and I think that's when people find that it's similar to finding the thing that works for them for their health, right? It's like keep trying different things. It's not doing X number of minutes on the treadmill is not for everybody. There's benefits in lifting weights, there's benefits in cardio, there's benefits in all those things, but there's so many other ways to do it. And so yeah, when we try to do one thing and we're like, oh, it doesn't work, I guess I'm not going to be healthy. It's bogus.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel like what you just described, it's like, well, I'm not worried so much about retirement in the future because I'm living in the present and I'm enjoying it.
Hmm.
And it's the exact same thing with health. Like you have found a career that really lights you up and that you
Yeah.
don't feel that you need to escape from or have an escape, an exit plan. Like
Right.
you're not planning for the exit plan.
Right.
You are happy where you are and it lights you up and you do. You have to find the same thing with your health.
Mhm.
Like, yes, I am taking care of my health for the future, but I want to feel good and be happy and vibrant now.
Right.
I don't want to just assume that something's going to happen in the future. I want to enjoy my life now.
Mhm. Yep. And that's a big piece of understanding how your body feels. Because when you understand that and you actually feel good, even if it's just for a day at first, when you actually feel good and you realize it, then it's almost like when you go on vacation and you're like, oh, I just want to go on vacation all the time. I just want to go back to that place where it was the beach or the mountains or wherever, right? Like, oh, because it just made me feel so good. That's what your health can do on a daily basis.
Yeah. When you choose a path that feels right for you
Mhm.
and you're making your health work for you, yeah, you don't feel that need to escape because you're just happy in your day to day and you
Yeah.
feel good in your day to day. And I honestly think so many people, I mean, so many people do not know what that feels like.
Yeah.
They just cannot even comprehend that. And, I get a lot of comments from friends and family because I own my own business and they're like, oh, well, you can take care of your health because you work for yourself and you
Hmm.
work from
Hmm.
home. And I'm like, I actually work more now, probably,
Oh yeah.
than I did then. But you know what? I'm doing it in the way that works for me.
Yeah.
And I am also still my top priority.
Yeah.
Like building my business, managing my clients, that is second to my health.
Yep.
And I think it's hard to do that sometimes, or people feel like that's a hard thing to do. I will say that
Mhm.
I did that even when I was in the corporate space because that's a choice that I made a long time ago. And as soon
Mhm.
as I couldn't take care of my health when I was in the corporate space, I left.
Yeah. But no, I would agree with that statement of working more um, now than I ever have. And and people that I like the clients that the athletes that I coach on the athletic side, they totally get it and they see it because they're like, weren't you here yesterday? Whether it's a track or a park or whatever, like, weren't you here yesterday night? And now you're here in the morning and like are, you're everywhere, like all the time. You're always, and I'm like, "Mhm." But they don't see the downtime. They don't see the planned time for myself, right? Like it's planned. And so even if you're working a job that you have to drive to, you have to be at, there's the routine, the schedule, you have to be in the office. There's still other time, right? And there was other time for me in my corporate jobs that I either used or didn't use, right? There's still other time in the day that you can still find the things that work for you. I think the big key is don't try and force yourself into doing something that works for somebody else.
Yeah. And sort of to that point, like when you have something more restrictive, one of my clients, she has to drive over an hour one way
Mhm.
to work. And that was such a big stressor for her. And so I was like, okay, you have to do this. You can't get around this. What is something that could bring you joy in that time?
Mhm.
Like, can we find a podcast that inspires you or makes you laugh? Or, can you call your mom? Like you like to talk
Mhm.
to your family members. Like, what about calling your mom on the way? It's getting creative, like with your situation, because I know everybody's situation is different.
Yeah.
Um, it's how can you be happy in the present?
Mhm.
How can you feel good and be happy in the present?
Yeah.
And, everybody's situation is different, but you still have control over that situation. You do.
Right. Right. Yep. Um, so how can people that want to follow you, want to follow along, want to get in touch with you, like what's the best way to do that?
Go to my website. wellwithmadison.com. Yeah, just go to my website. You can follow along on Instagram as well. Those would be the two best options.
Awesome. So we've covered a lot of ground. What is something for that person who has struggled, right? Who is like back and forth, the different things, tried all these different things, like and maybe they found something that worked and they didn't realize it worked. And so they either didn't give it enough time or they just said, oh, but this is something that's quote unquote better. Like that person that mom that's just burnt out on both ends, that's done. Like what's something that she can grab onto and know that like things can get better.
I think the thing that came to me while you were saying that is just because you have not found the thing that works for you does not mean there's not a solution.
Ooh,
Like
yeah,
you just haven't found what works for you. But
yeah.
believe me, something will work for you.
Hmm.
And it is probably something that is going to fit so much more seamlessly into your life and your day to day than you believe is possible.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be so much easier than you realize.
Mhm.
So hold on to that hope. Like you just haven't found the right thing for you yet.
Yeah. Well, and that the easier piece is something that I fully believe is that when you find the thing, you realize how much easier life can get, when it all aligns and the body feels great and your health is good. It really does.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
well, Madison, I want to thank you so much for being a guest. It's been a great conversation.
Thank you. Thank you. It really has.
Thanks for checking out the Confidence Through Health podcast. Please subscribe, post a review, share this episode with those you love who need a little extra help with their health journey. Visit allinhealthandwellness.com to learn more about the coaching programs that I provide. All episodes are produced by the Social Media Cowboys, your source for all online marketing needs. Go to socialmediacowboys.com for more information.